would like to welcome our second speaker, and our second speaker is Nisrine El-Choueifati. And Nisrine has been a speech pathologist for over 10 years, working in early intervention services with children, families and educators to support the inclusion and participation of children with additional needs to participate in meaningful ways within their community. Nisrine is currently the Early Childhood Links Manager at SDN Children and Family Services and works with a transdisciplinary team supporting the participation and inclusion of all children. And something you now will know about Nisrine is that she shares the same birthday as Albert Einstein. And since discovering this as a child, has always felt that she has something to live up to. So thank you very much, Nisrine.
Okay, it's a little bit tricky, but there is a point to me wearing these big glasses. I guess after having heard and been to training over my career and having so many great experiences of inclusion in practice, my life kind of changed in May when I actually learnt the meaning of a very simple word. And already today, if I could count the number of times this word has been said, it's probably been over 50. It's a word that we use. In action, we know when we can see that it's happening, but we know more when it's not happening. And it's a 7-letter word that Aretha Franklin actually spoke about, and it was the word respect. And coming to SDN, it was very interesting that respectful and inclusive were one of the core values, and to put them together means that they're very important. But what I learnt when you break down the word respect, it is a Latin word, and the word re means to do again, but that special SPECT in Latin talks about our looking. So when you re-look, there's something in that action. Because I guess if you look once, maybe you just see what you see. And Randa's example of that situation where somebody saw somebody of Arab appearance through their window doesn't show respect, because they just saw at a glance what was there in front of them. But respect is really about the re-looking. Seeing, observing, looking with depth. We know it, we think we feel it, we know when it's not there. But let's think, I really thought that it connected a lot of the science, what actually this means. And if we think about our children that we are supporting the inclusion of, how many eyes are on them? How many perspectives are being taken when they are being welcomed into a community? We know our eyes are connected to the brain, and those multiple perspectives have a deeper kind of understanding of we look and we perceive. I always think, and I guess now that I've started in a new team and always with team members, because we're sold on inclusion, one of the things that usually happens is you'll go somewhere, and as a speech pathologist, I'll give you an example of something I heard in the last month. We went to a centre, a child was bilingual, they're going through the silent period. An educator says, oh look, we can't help them here until the family starts learning English. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's when there's a fire in I know that there is a fire in my belly, right there. And I'm sure you all have it. You wouldn't have committed your careers to being change makers if you never felt that fire in your belly. For me as well, it's about, I guess the first thing that I'd want to do is, in the bubble above my head, is say, oh my goodness, how could you say that? But I don't do that. In this concept of understanding the SPECT in perspective is I want to understand, what does that educator see that I don't? What does that educator know that I don't? So with our eyes, there's something behind those eyes. Every eye on the child, behind them, is a whole bunch of stuff. And the closest thing I would say that I would be like Einstein is this invention that I made. because we all walk around with these lenses, and up the top is this thing that we have as our brain. And I've always said I wish I could see, inside other people's heads, because I know they have their story, they have their experiences, they have their attitudes. I guess I always say that if I want to see inside their head, then they would see in mine, and maybe I don't like that. But anyway, the important thing is that we know that this is happening. There could be the family lens, what the family knows about the child. And I always think for that child who is bilingual in the centre, you will often get families say they're speaking at home. And they have seen that in front of them. But maybe the educator in their setting, with a comment like that, I'm wondering, has she ever experienced someone in her setting who has been in the silent period of bilingualism? Does she know the support that she has available? And in that, I'm also very aware too that the child's little lens is being influenced by all the ways that people are seeing them to be included. I always thought, when I looked back on my education experience, I always thought that I experienced so many teachers, and something in me changed every year because of what they saw in me. And that was the re-looking, the respect. I think that what I really have learnt is that what our key is to get, that feeling in the stomach from being disrespectful to that educator. So sometimes we're going to have mismatches. There can often be mismatches between what educators see, other professionals see for the child, families hope and dream for their child. We don't want to disrespect that those people also have experiences too. So when there is a mismatch, this is where, how do we enable each other to have conversations around it? And true specialists, and I guess it's very complementary to what Katie's just spoken about, but it is about that reflection. And I think that reflection with science, with my lovely invention here, looks like how we look at our own brains to understand and look deeply at what do I see that educator doesn't see? What do I see that family doesn't see? And why? Have I had experiences that person didn't have? The other perspective, what did the interaction partners see that was the same, and what was different? How does what I see impact on the way a child will participate? And when I do find barriers, what am I limited in seeing in the child, the context, or other interaction partners? And how will I find out? I feel like we could keep talking about, and we could keep having training and cultural competency training, but if we don't ever think about how we're receiving it, nothing will change. I guess at the core, it really is about us as individuals being able to reflect in order to deepen our re-looking, our respect. And if you have a look at even those three words, so respect, perspective, specialist, they're all relative to what we see and therefore what we look. And so I always thought, the lovely thing that I felt when I did hear and understand the meaning of the word respect, I kind of thought, I just thought it was this really nice thing you do. It was this value that you have. But it is actually intrinsically kind of related to the way that we're processing things from our attitudes, our experiences and our beliefs. And that core practice of reflection is the only way that we're going to be able to understand the way that a child's being seen through different eyes. So when you want to transform looking, so if we did want to think about that example that Randa gave about looking through the window, assuming somebody was from Arab origin, and that means a whole bunch of experiences, attitudes, values, beliefs were conquered. Looking is judgment. It can be deficit. I often think as a therapist, we often get reports and they're full of one-dimensional labels about this child, but I always say, give me a chance to see this child. Let me see them with their friends, see them with their family, see them with the people that know how to understand them. It's static. When we look, we take a glance, but we don't really process and think about somebody over time. And children need to be seen over time because we believe in development. One size fits all is looking. So I've got this box and everyone that looks like this, acts like this, fits into that box. And that really restricts my behaviours and actions. And it is. When we just look at things and try to fix them for what we see in front of us, it is going to create exclusion. But to see, it's understanding with depth. It's strengths-based. It's about understanding that things are dynamic, adapted and embedded, and inclusive. So I guess it's very clear that my key for inclusion is really understanding the depth of respect and the re-looking that we have. And if we could have any key to unlock the path between what we see and how our experiences and attitudes and belief impact on that to support inclusion, that's my take-home message for you all. Thank you.